Hey physics peeps, we're going to do some conversions today or dimensional analysis. We're going to start off with some easy problems where we're converting from one type of metric unit to another type of metric unit. So we're going to solve out these two problems. And this first one, it says convert 4,800 centigrams to kilograms. So when we look at this, there's a couple things going on with the unit. First, there's something called the base unit. It's what the unit is based off of, or what it is without the metric prefix. Each of these has grams in it. That's the base unit. There's also the prefixes that are out in front. They come from this list of metric prefixes that we used in class, like centi, milli, kilo, all that kind of stuff. Okay? So these metric prefixes, they change the size of the base unit to be bigger or smaller, depending on what it is that you assign. Like a centimeter is smaller than a meter, all that kind of stuff. But it's useful to know what these numbers are, and you want to make sure that you know this pattern. Like kilo is 1,000, but you can remember that if you remember it goes up by tens because metric system is based off of 10. So going up to deca, it's 10, then 100, then 1,000. But once you get to mega, it takes a big jump. It's not 10,000, it's a million. Mega is million, then giga is billion, and then tera is trillion. As you go down the list, it's the same pattern, just as fractions. So 1/10, 1/100th for centi, because there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and 1/1000th for milli. Micro takes that jump again. It's 1/1,000,000th, 1/1,000,000,000th, and then 1/1,000,000,000,000th. All that stuff. So as you go through and convert from this unit to another unit, there's that process of dimensional analysis that we'll use. We'll use these values, and you'll see how we use them here, but we also follow these 4 steps as we go through, or kind of rules that we follow when we do dimensional analysis. So when we look at this, we always start with what we're given. What we're given is right here, this number and unit that they give us. We have 4,800 centigrams. So that's what I write first, and then I multiply, sign, and align. This really ends up being kind of like a fraction, just like how this will be. This part, though, belongs on top of the line, 4,800 centigrams. Over here, we're going to put stuff on top and bottom of this one. And there's going to be numbers and units that belong on top and bottom. But this rule, units come first, then the numbers. And we say that units, we place the units inside here. The unit that goes on the bottom is really whatever unit started up here at the top. So if it's centigrams here, centigrams comes down here to the bottom. Okay? You got that. The unit that goes up on top is really the unit that you're shooting for, the one that you're trying to get to. It's kilograms. But if I write kilograms up here, this actually goes against one of our other rules, and you can do this, but I'll explain it here in just a moment. So you only want to deal with one prefix at a time, and I highly encourage you to work it that way, because then you don't have to worry about figuring out other pieces. You can actually do it a lot faster when you kind of do it in one process. But in order to do this, you have 2 prefixes, centi and kilo, in the same conversion factor, this fraction. And dealing with both prefixes can be kind of hard because you need to know the relationship between centi and kilo. And if you know how many centigrams there are in a kilogram, great, you could do it this way. But it's sometimes easier to just deal with one prefix at a time. So when we say deal with one prefix, this is what we mean. Multiply, sign, and line. Units go on the bottom, centigrams. But if we only want to deal with one prefix, we already got a prefix down here on the bottom. We want to put a unit up here that has no prefixes. And that's basically just the base unit. So I just want to put the base unit up on top. I have to go from centigrams to grams. I have units in both spots now. Then I can do the numbers in these spots. The numbers that go in, I relate to this table, but you start with the number 1. The number 1 goes in the spot that has the bigger unit. Between a gram and a centigram, gram is bigger. You can also kind of tell that by this table because the base unit, this is where grams would be. Centigrams is down here with centi. And because grams is up higher on the table, that means that it's bigger. It gets the number 1. Okay? The other spot is really the number that goes along with this prefix. But when we find centi, it's 1/100th. Instead of using the fraction, we just say 100. There's 100 centigrams in 1 gram. And that's it. Okay? So we have numbers and units in both spots. Okay? Because of that, I can actually cancel out things that appear on opposite sides. I have centigrams here on top, centigrams here on the bottom. Those two things cross out. Okay? Grams doesn't cross out, and that's also not the unit that I wanted to end up with. I want kilograms. So to do that, I just need to do another conversion factor, another multiply sign in a line. I go back and go through these steps. In here, there's going to be numbers and units, okay? But units go first. So the unit that goes on the bottom comes from this unit that's up on top over here. It's grams up here, grams comes down to the bottom. Okay? The unit that goes up on top is the one that I'm shooting for, the one that I want to get. I want to get to kilograms. I could actually put kilograms up here this time because in here, I don't have a prefix in this unit. Up here, I have a prefix. There's only one prefix between these two. So one prefix at a time, I'm still doing that. Okay? Now to put the numbers in to these spots. The number 1 goes into the spot that has the larger unit. Between a gram and a kilogram is bigger. You can tell by going over here on the chart too. Gram would be here at the base unit. It doesn't have a prefix. And then kilogram would be up here by kilo. Because it's up higher, it's bigger. And 1 kilogram has, and the number for kilo goes in the other spot, the number for the prefix. Kilo means 1,000. So there's 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. I have numbers and units in this spot. Because of that, I go and I cancel units out that appear on top and bottom. Grams was up here. Grams is down here. This doesn't cancel with anything. There's no other kilogram. And it's also the unit that I wanted to end up with. So I'm going to circle it because that's going to cue me when I get to the unit that I want. That's when this process stops. I don't do any more conversion factors, no more multiply signs and lines. Now I do the math. Okay? And doing the math goes along with this last step. Multiply across, then divide. And we do that by saying this is equal to something. Okay? And really, this is one big fraction that we set up. And there's stuff on top and bottom of the fraction. And we multiply across. Well, on the top, I take the numbers and multiply them. And this number started on top. It's 4,800 times 1 times 1. I just get 4,800. Well, on the bottom, I do the same thing. I multiply the numbers down here. Keep in mind, we didn't put anything down here to begin with. There is a number that you could put down here. It's just a 1. But you don't have to put it down there if you don't want to. But I'd multiply across the bottom now. 1 times 100 times 1,000. You can put that in your calculator if you want to, but it comes out to be 100,000. Now that I multiplied across, I divide these two now. Take 4,800, divide by 100,000, I get 0.048. That's my answer for the number. I also need a unit. The unit is whatever unit didn't cancel out in my problem. It's the unit I was going for. This is kilograms. That's how you solve that one out. I'm going to solve out this bottom one a little bit more quickly, but I'll still go through all these steps as I go. So when we want to convert 0.22 kilometers to hectometers, it's HM. I always start with what I'm given. Here's what I'm given, 0.22 kilometers. It's what I want to convert. I'm going to convert it to hectometers, but I do this by doing the dimensional analysis, multiply sign in a line. And if you want to, you can start this on a fraction as well. Okay? But you're not going to put anything down here. This one, it just started with kilometers. That's all that goes in here. Again, you can put a 1 down here at the bottom, but there's no other unit in the things that you put into this one. You're going to be adding units and numbers into this one. We start with the units, then we go to the numbers. So with the units, because I started with kilometers up here, kilometers comes down to the bottom. The unit that goes on top is the unit that I'm kind of going towards. It's hectometers. But if I put hectometers up here, then I'd be having 2 different prefixes in the same conversion factor. I only want to work with 1 prefix at a time. This has a prefix. In the other spot, I'm just going to put the base unit. And the base unit for kilometers, without the prefix, it's meters. I have a unit in both spots, and now I'm going to put number 1 next to the larger unit. Between a kilometer and a meter, kilometer is bigger. It's also bigger up on the chart. Next to meters, I'm going to put the number for kilo. So it's kilo means 1,000. There's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. I have numbers in units in both spots. I'm going to cross out the kilometers because one's on top, one's on bottom. I'm left with meters, but that's not the unit I want for my answer. I have to do another one. Do a multiply sign in a line. I have to do units first, then the numbers. The unit that goes on the bottom is meters because that's what started up here. The unit that goes up on top is the one that I'm going for, and it's hectometers. I can do that because there's only 1 prefix between these two. Does have meters, that's a base unit. And this one has the prefix. 1 prefix at a time, that's what I'm doing. Okay? I put a 1 next to the unit that is bigger. In between these two, hecto is higher up on the list. So 1 hectometer, and hecto means 100. So it's 100 meters in 1 hectometer. I have numbers in units in both spots. So now the meters cross out. I'm left with hectometers. It doesn't cancel with anything. It's also a unit that I want. I'm just going to circle it just to kind of tell myself I'm done with the process. And now I'm going to do the math. So when I do the math, I multiply across, then I divide. I take these numbers on top, 0.22, and multiply it with these ones, times 1,000 times 1. And I end up with 220 up on top. Divided by the numbers on the bottom. Remember, it's just a 1 down here on the bottom for the first one. Times 1 times 100. I just end up with 100 on the bottom. And now I divide. And when I do that, I get 2.2. The unit for my answer is what I didn't cancel out or what I was looking for, and it's hectometers. And that's how I go about solving those and doing conversions. So I hope that worked for you, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.